Well, howdy folks, Hellcracks here, and welcome to Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere, episode 127. And today we're going to be jumping into another 3050 mech, the Flea. We discussed this one, I think it was episode 8, way back in the beginning, a couple years ago. So if you want to look at the standard configuration of this mech, go jump back to episode 8. Now, today we're going to be talking about the upgraded 3050 one with some new technology. Alright, not a bad little guy. He has few problems, but hey, we can talk about those. Now, the Flea. 20 tons. It's not really an overly a speedster. You know, it comes in at a 6'9", 12. You say 12? Yes, because it has mask, which basically doubles your walking speed. Now, it has this wonderful thing called endosteel, so half of its tonnage in its internal structure has been cut. So we have 1 ton there, saved up. Now, one thing, it doesn't have jump jets, but as a 6'9", it's not that fast, it's not that slow. Now, if you want to really risk and gamble, you can use the mass. Me personally, I have the worst kind of luck when it comes to mass, because you can almost guarantee almost every game, the first turn I ever use mask, I lock up. Don't know why. It's just the luck of the draw for me. If I use it 2 turns in a row, I can 100% guarantee I'm going to lock up my mech. You know, just the nature of the beast. Now, it has 10 single heat sinks on the engine. And then it comes in with 48 points of armor, which is about 1.5 tons short of maximum. And we can discuss some things about how to take care of that, because this mech does need a little bit of armor to save it, because any good hit will take this thing to pieces. Alright, so basically when you look at the armor structure, this one has no place. So if you get hit with a PPC, large laser, autocannon 10, it's punching holes going right on it. So, alright, the best place you have is your center torso, which has 8 points of armor. And that is the biggest problem. And being a 6'9" moving mech, it's actually fairly easy to do damage to this thing. Alright. That's the biggest problem I've ever found with the Flea, is that it doesn't take much to kill it. Now, let's talk about equipment. The equipment it has a right arm and left arm. It has medium pulse lasers, which is kind of nice but you know, the range sucks, to be honest with you, when it comes to the inner sphere pulse lasers. But you do get the advantage of -2 to hit. So if you do get close enough, you have a good chance of hitting somebody with it. Alright, that's one nice thing. Now, it does have in the center torso a flamer, which if you want to barbecue any type of crunchies on the battlefield, aka infantry, or heat up another mech, you have the possibility of doing a little bit of that fun with the flamer. It has in the left and right torso facing towards the rear, which is like, seriously, you don't really need to worry about that. It should be facing to the front. 2 small lasers. And then in the center torso, you do have your mask, which to me is like, okay, if you want to gamble with it, you can use it. But like I said, with my luck, I don't like using mask because I always lock up. Now, one of the reasons I said it seems kind of redundant to have your 2 small lasers facing towards the rear. And so, yeah, you're saying you're going to be running away most of the time. But if you look at the internal structure, the lower hand and lower arm actuators on the Flea are gone. So if you even look at a picture of one, you can see those 2 arms will flip. So why not just when you're running away, flip your arms backwards, and then you can still shoot back. Alright, so that's kind of like I always do, is like if I ever have a Flea, I always face those 2 small lasers forward, so then I can take advantage of, you know, if I do get in close, I can at least use them up close and personal. And if I'm running away, I can just flip my arms around and then give them the 2 shots from that direction. All right. Now the only problem is with the Flea is that if you ever get into one of those games where you got to do a heist or something and you got supposed to carry stuff away, you don't have any arms or hand actuators, so you can't pick anything up. So that's one of those mechs where it's like, okay, if you know that kind of mission's coming up, don't pick a Flea. No, that's just pretty much plain and simple. Now, there is a couple variants that they do talk about. There's the FLE-17, which is outfitted with the new 8 machine guns and built in 2 arrays. Okay, and then it has a flamer and a single-use rocket launcher to load out. Personally, if I'm going to use a single-launch rocket system, I'd rather have the armor. You know, I'd put it where that really belongs, just because I would rather stick around for at least another turn. And then there's another one. Okay, this one utilizes the Compel Confederation stealth armor technology. Report outfitting with 2 ER medium lasers and a light PPC, though it's unknown just how they got their hands on this kind of weaponry, but they do have it. Now that would be kind of an interesting one where a mech like this, instead of the pulse lasers, if you used ER medium lasers, and when the technology gets to be available, yeah, I would go with that. Definitely 100% put ER medium lasers on this thing. And if you could, even put ER small lasers on it and double heat sinks. And you're like, there he goes again, double heat sink. Yeah, why not? You got the space on these things. You're not running XL engines. They do have an endo steel, but you've probably got at least 12 to 14 points of space in the internal structure. Why not put double heat sinks on it? Yeah, you're going to burn up a lot of the space doing it, but you don't have to worry about slowing down because of heat problems, especially if you're running with ER smalls and medium lasers. All right. And here they are also talking about putting a light PPC on it. Yeah, that's even, another, because one of the configurations of the previous one had a large laser on it. I got a friend of mine that uses the one with the large laser configuration, and he uses it pretty good for doing harassment because it's got the range of it, to get out there and start hammering away and hitting you hard. That's what's not like about that kind of configuration. So if you're going to do a change on the Flea, personally I would drop the 2 medium pulse lasers, put 2 ER medium lasers on if you got that technology. If not, just put medium lasers on. Throw at least a ton of that into armor so you're almost maxed out. That way you can hopefully survive at least one more turn of fire, and then either put another medium laser on or a flamer. And you're just like, why the flamer? Well, because if you're going to get in close, or if you're facing off against infantry, because this is kind of a good mech to rush in there really fast and hit infantry units, to hit an infantry platoon, hit them with a flamer, and cook them out. All right, that's kind of like how I like to use some of these sometimes. Is when you start really getting into combined arms games like that, it doesn't hurt to think about having something to take care of infantry, because a lot of times you get in some of these heavier mechs and medium mechs, they don't have a lot of anti-infantry equipment on them, especially now the older configurations may, because obviously they were designed for doing like having machine guns and etc. like that. But a lot of the newer ones, they're more or less geared towards fighting the clans, and they don't necessarily have all that goodness added on. So having a mech that's like can be used to take care of infantry, yeah, much the better. Unless you got your hands on a fire starter or a Vulcan, that really are dedicated towards killing infantry. And if you put a new equipment on it, like I said, and you're extending your range out so you can do a little bit better job of harassment and engage targets a little better. You know, obviously you're still going to be within 9 because you don't have anything that shoots out far enough unless you use the one version that has the large laser. Heck, you could just think about this one, where take the one with the large laser on it and then turn around, make it an ER large, put double heat sinks on it, and then you're running around doing some pretty good harassment with it. All right, and that means it's a little harder because you don't have jump jets on this thing, so getting around terrain. But you know, with a 6'9" movement, if you can get yourself into behind a hill, or like I said, get into any type of wood hex, be it light or heavy, because that can help you stay alive a little bit better. Because if you know your movement modifiers, you know, the best you're gonna get if you go in a straight line, you know, you can get the +3 possibly. Now, if you can get a +2 because of your movement, and then get into like a heavy or light woods, you know, that also makes up a lot of the difference. All right, to prevent yourself from being killed, because that's the one thing about a mech like this. If it's going slow or doesn't have any modifiers, because that is your defense, that's your armor on a mech like this. Because you don't have the armor, you need to have the speed as your barrier from taking damage, and you got to keep moving these things as quick as possible. Now, one of the things that you could do to counter one of these things like that, slow them down, is if you got a whole bunch of low battle value, because this thing comes in around 500. If you have some low battle value units that are fast, like hovercraft, etc., like that, where you can block, because it doesn't have jump jets, so it can't go over top of you. So if you kind of hem these things in so they have to make a lot of turns to try to move, you slow them down, and by slowing them down, that turns around and makes it easier to kill them. All right, that's one way to counter your recon type units that are coming at you, is do your best to use your hovercraft, which are cheap, get them in their face, force them to turn, etc. All right, and that, you know, has worked pretty good over the years, especially, like I said, against units that don't have jump jets. That's pretty much everything that I can say about the Flea, other than making a couple changes, like with its weapon systems, and maybe adding a little bit more armor, or changing one of the versions from a large laser to an ER large laser and double heat sinks. You know, that's pretty much it when it comes to the Flea. It's a pretty straightforward little vehicle or mech. There's no really fanciness about it. It's kind of like a plugger. Use it, and it doesn't cost you a lot of battle value to put one on the table. So it's kind of like one of those things where if you're trying to fill out a force and you got some battle value you're trying to figure out, a Flea might be a good choice, because you can toss it in there if you don't want to run a lot of infantry or vehicles. All right, well, that's pretty much it. If you got any experience with the Flea, put her down below. Tell me some of your stories and everything. I like interacting with everybody that's out there. So let me know. Like and subscribe. Share with all your friends. And we will talk to you later. Hellcracks out.